I've got some change, an empty shelf, and a bin. Welcome to Bargain or Bust, the show where I try to find some of the cheapest games for sale in my local secondhand store to see just how bad they can be. Will I find any hidden gems worthy of a spot on the shelf, or be left with garbage games destined for the trash? It's easy to find some cheap junk on Steam, asset flipped shovelware churned out by individuals, but what about the fully fledged companies who created physical games now taking up precious shelf space in stores? That's where I turn to CX, a second-hand goods chain based here in the UK specialising in technology, computing and video games. They're pretty much the only shop that still offers a large selection of older games for consoles like the PlayStation 2 and the Wii. You know, the consoles with huge libraries of weird and wacky titles that have been all but forgotten about. Better yet, they sell for practically nothing, so there's bound to be a good deal in there somewhere. A diamond in the rough waiting to be discovered. Or maybe they're cheap for a reason. There's only one way to find out. Let's get shopping for a bargain or a bust. Oh, so many titles to choose from. I've definitely seen some games for as low as 5p before, but alas, not today. So we're kicking things off with a 50p purchase of Babe for the PlayStation 2. I mean, come on, who can resist this cover with that little smiling face? Oh, so cute. Released in 2006, Babe stars in his first adventure for PlayStation 2 based on the classic family movies from Universal Pictures. That released 8 years earlier. Very timely. Yes, this is based on the sequel Babe, Pig in the City, in which our little sheep herder heads to the big city to win a contest and help save the farm. The film wasn't a massive hit, but I'm sure this game will be a blast. Oh dear. Wait a minute, what did I just say? Released in 2006.
2006. Babe stars in it.
2006? Really? Pretty much as the PlayStation 2's era was coming to a close with swan song games such as God of War 2, Black and Okami, and then there's this. Babe plays as an isometric puzzle game where you herd Gypsy the sheep around a variety of locations, strategically plotting her course to give her a good oinking from behind until she reaches the end of the level. One oink and off she runs in a particular direction until something gets in her way, or she falls down a hole, or she gets stuck in a corner, or she gets caught by humans. Gypsy's not the brightest, is she? Let's get the obvious out of the way. The game looks atrocious. I would say it belongs on a Game Boy instead, but there actually was a Game Boy Advance version, and the pixel graphics looked so much better. Everything about this PlayStation 2 version looks awful. The title screen, the animations, the UI, the Comic Sans, the inconsistent grammar, the bridge. Actually, I quite like that bridge. But everything else? Disgusting! All your favourite characters from the film are here, scattered around the level to offer tips and tricks, but one look and it's enough to never want to speak to them again. Ugh. Don't worry though, you'd only be missing out on such sage advice as message not found. Huh. By the way, if you're curious, there's Fly, Bob, Ferdinand, Fleelick, Easy, Zooty, PB, and Thelonious. They all keep you company as you wander the level in silence because the music decided to stop playing. That just means I need to do that again. Yes. Okay, great. And the music stopped. So now I've got to play it in silence as well. Well, that's even better, isn't it? Oh, well, great. And hey, their disfigured faces are still better than the burping, chewing, strange humans you have to deal with. I think Barney Gumble's wandered too far from Moe's. There are 50 challenging levels in this game, and considering I only paid 50p, that's 1p a level. Surely that's a bargain. Well, no. I managed to make it 3 levels before I got trapped in a game over loop thanks to a poorly timed checkpoint, and I gave up. Oh no. No! Oh, I've caught myself in a death loop. I can't get back to save her in time. But the box art had teased me with other places such as hotels, hospitals, and even an airport. I just had to get further, so I did what any reasonable person would do and cheat. Babe couldn't even implement the most basic of video game functions, saving your progress, and instead relies on a passcode system to advance. They also forgot the letter O exists, apparently. I furiously googled for some future level passcodes to no luck because, let's face it, who else has even touched this game? And so, with my curly tail between my legs, I decided, no. Enough of this hogwash. No more swining. I will not let level 3 of Babe beat me. I am a gamer, and gamers don't give up. Level 4 was also terrible. I mean seriously, who designed this hospital? And who let chimpanzees on the ward? That doesn't seem very sanitary. And how come I can push around these giant first aid kits but not the office chairs or trolleys? You know, things with actual wheels. And why aren't these nurses attending to these sick, coughing people? Okay, I think I've had quite enough. Sure, there's a lot of content and yes, at its most basic level it functions as a puzzle game, but can it be considered a bargain? No, it's a bust. I wonder what Blast Games are up to now. Let's have a look. Okay, let's move on. By the way, if you'd like to see the full recording of my time playing Babe, as well as all the other games in this video, head over to my second channel, More Muckluck, and while you're there, why not subscribe? After all that pig puzzling, I'm so glad the next game I decided to purchase was Detonator, to revel in what seemed like some mindless explosions. The game wastes no time in getting to the good stuff. Press start and you're immediately treated to a destructive display of dynamite. Sure, the somber music is a bit jarring, but I don't mind. I'm as happy as Bart and Homer watching an episode of When Buildings Collapse.
The best part was when the buildings fell down.
Okay, enough teasing, let's blast off and see if we get any bang for our buck. Or in this case, 50 pence. Detonator was another puzzle game. Yeah, I should have paid more attention to the back of the box. Detonator is nothing more than a Tetris-like puzzle game released in 2003 that has you strategically place a limited amount of dynamite in a limited amount of turns to clear all the blocks of a building. So yeah, sadly that munition montage was not in-game footage. Who'd have thought? Instead, the game has a more minimalist aesthetic, complete with stern-sounding Robo-Lady, who does like to go into a lot of detail concerning the mechanics of the game.
Dynamite type rules. Standard type dynamite. This is the building that you are going to destroy, which shows a this is dynamite that will work well. Most of the dynamite has
She also seems particularly keen to tell me I've failed. Probably because I didn't listen to her yapping away. That or she's a sadist.
You failed. You failed. You
Yeah,
failed.
okay, I get the
failed.
idea, thanks. The real reason she's moaning at me is because the game is actually quite challenging. Perhaps I was too quick to judge. Sure, it's reminiscent of Tetris thanks to the various shapes you can place dynamite in, but there's a bit more strategy involved too. As well as the level limitations on the right hand side, there's a sandwich effect to consider, where nearby gaps can be automatically damaged depending on where you place the dynamite. And when you get bored, Detonator has all these other modes to play too. It even offers you some crack, which is quite bold for being a 3+ game. How kind. Maybe later. So the gameplay works, it's challenging, and it's got a surprisingly decent soundtrack full of melancholic synths and piano. But on the back of the box, I definitely saw a 3D building being destroyed, so where's the goods? Well, unfortunately, there is no hands-on exploding when it comes to those parts. Instead, each level is bookended by a sweeping panorama of the soon-to-be rubble. And that's where the mournful montage at the beginning starts to make a bit more sense. Despite its cover, Detonator doesn't rejoice in the action of demolition. All the buildings you destroy are situated in what looks like a dystopian, maybe even post-apocalyptic city. Heavy grey clouds looming over an equally grey environment. It's all a bit creepy if you ask me. It's less Michael Bay and more Koyaanisqatsi. Stick some Philip Glass over this and you're pretty much there. That doesn't stop the game from telling porkies, however. The back of the box mentions how buildings collapse in real time and fall according to where you place your charges during the game. Really? Physics simulations in a game from 2003? That sounds too good to be true, and well, yeah, it is. What they really mean is the pattern of explosion textures follows the path you made during the game. As for how it falls, well, it just falls down perfectly straight every time. Great. What a strange game. Not what I was expecting at all. It's a neat little puzzler, which turns out is actually a European localization of a 2002 Japanese game called Bulibaku. Yeah, that. And despite the fact its cover tricked me into expecting something else, I think its forlorn aesthetic really works, and if anything, says a lot more about urban decay than huge explosions and rock music ever could. Perhaps it's not a bargain, but it's different enough to earn a spot on the shelf. Nice job, Detonator. We're on to the final game for this episode, and I'd like for it to be the big ticket item, potentially even the star buy of the show. Enough with the 50p purchases, it's time to flash the cash and see what we can get. So I bought The Great Escape for £1. I'm expecting great things from this. We're talking a 100% increase in price compared to the previous two games. Developed by SCI Games and released in 2003, The Great Escape is of course based on the 1963 classic film, so we should expect Nazis and digging and escaping and okay, I haven't actually seen the 1963 classic film, but I'm sure the game will do a fine job portraying it. The back of the box certainly amps up the excitement as we take part in a truly epic adventure with heart-stopping, tension-filled stealth levels, together with adrenaline-soaked combat and action sequences that take you from inside a World War II bomber to Steve McQueen's world-famous bike chase. All the action, excitement and suspense of Hollywood brought to you in The Great Escape. That's some mighty fine sales talk right there. Let's see if it can deliver. Well, it certainly doesn't waste any time with those action sequences. You start the game and are immediately thrown into a dogfight set piece. Too bad it's so dark you can't see it, and the time limits make it all a frantic mess. What do I do? 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 Help me.
Sir, you must grab your parachute and bail out!
Oh, okay, where's that? Is that my parachute? No. Oh no, I'm gonna fail again.
We've been hit!
It wasn't really the heroic beginning I was hoping for after dying repeatedly. Long story short, your plane is shot down and after landing in enemy territory you're taken to the POW camp Dulag Luft 10, and there it turns into a third-person stealth game. Uh-oh. If you're a long-time viewer of my channel, you'll know that me and stealth don't really get on. I'm not quite sure what I was expecting from a game called The Great Escape, but let's just say stealth isn't my strong suit.
Remember, Hitman, stealth.
I heard it.
Remember Hitman, stealth.
Nevertheless, playing as Andrew McDonald is actually pretty fun. The controls are decent, with lots of camera options to look around. Classic stealth mechanics like looking through doors and throwing items as distractions are all there. It's surprisingly polished. That is until you see the faces. Whoosh. I don't expect LA Noire levels of expression here, but we're not far off the flat-faced models of GoldenEye 64. At least the characters themselves don't mind staring at each other. 4 uncomfortably long periods of silence.
It's a compass. The needle indicates where your next objective is.
Thanks very much.
Stick some alternative music in there and you've got a different game entirely.
Thanks very much.
So after talking to the senior British officer and immediately hatching a plan to escape, you go speak to the document forger, who needs a German pass to replicate, so you sneak into the guard's hut trying not to wake the sleeping guard with perfect posture to steal a pass, and then return it once you're done. And then you speak to the tunneler who needs a new shovel, so you go get a shovel and then it turns out he needs more wood for support, so you cover the tunnel and go steal some wood, and then you grab your pass and escape through the tunnel, and you're immediately caught.
Herr MacDonald, a good attempt, but it would seem you have much to learn about escaping.
Blimey, being a prisoner of war is tough work. You're sent to the infamous Colditz Castle, where your neighbouring prisoner, a floating head trapped within the abyss, creates a distraction to allow you to try escaping again. But not before a bit of breakdancing. It was at this point I started to get a bit bored and just tried to make a mad dash for the exit, which apparently isn't the way you're meant to play the game, but that was enough for one day. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of history, and in particular World War II, but I have a bit of a soft spot for The Great Escape. Yeah, it's a lot of stealth and it's a bit rough around the edges, but I definitely think there's a good game in there somewhere. And having only just reached Colditz Castle, it's bound to get more fun. I mean seriously, have you read what actually happened there? It's crazy. All sorts of escape plans, from a soldier who tried shipping himself off in a crate, to a cross-dressing Frenchman, to even making their own glider and launching it off the chapel roof. None of those plans worked unfortunately, but some did. It's interesting stuff, go give it a read. I want to play more of The Great Escape and reach that world famous bike chase, so for that reason I'm awarding it the star buy of the show. Hey, for £1 I'd consider it a bargain. On the shelf you go. And that's going to do it for this first episode of Bargain or Bust. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like, and if you're not already, consider subscribing so you don't miss any in the future. And hey, if you're a fan of old PS2 games, my channel is full of them, so there's plenty of other stuff to watch too. See you next time, folks.